Okay, we should get started. Today we're going to talk about a very controversial issue, which also involves a lot of expertise from different disciplines. That's why I invited a biologist to come to share with us or to explain to us what stem cell research is all about. He's also going to talk about cloning. So in this hour, we are going to start with this case, but in the second hour, at the very beginning, Dr. Rao, Jerry Rao, is going to come to share his expertise in biology. So we have some more background knowledge on this particular issue, okay? But we will start with abortion, because this is really the core issue here. Now we are going to just watch a short, well, probably 9-minute video clip on swing vote. While you're watching, please take notes. I'm going to ask you to pay attention to the following structure. In the following 9 minutes while you're watching, you will hear his speech can be divided into 4 parts. First, pay attention to the introduction, okay? Figure out what he says in the introductory remark. How does he begin his speech? And then he will raise his decision right here. Note what decision he's made. And then he will move on to provide arguments for the 2 sides. Okay, that's the third part. So you can figure out, try to find out how he addresses the 2 different groups. One is pro-life, the next is pro-choice. Okay, and finally, as he moves to the conclusion, he actually raises the 3rd option. That's in the conclusion. So when you're watching it, please take notes so you can summarize what you have seen. This is more guided to help you focus on the clip, the video clip. All right, perhaps most of you have already watched this at home, right? Have you watched this at home? Let me just quickly do a survey. How many of you watch this short video clip at home? Please raise your hand. Okay, just 2. That's okay. That's why I'm doing this right here and try to help you organize and focus on the major contents. But basically, you will see this justice, a Supreme Court justice, who has to make a very hard decision because his vote is going to, change the results. So he was put in a very difficult position to make this decision. But he refuses to make a rapid decision, and he studies all sides before rendering his opinion. And his speech is very representative. You will see a Supreme Court justice, presenting his well thought out decision in a manner that's really, can serve as a good example for excellent speech. Okay? I guess I should also talk about the plot. The Justice Joseph Kirkland has recently been appointed to the United States Supreme Court. So he's a new person, newcomer in this important position. And he's faced with an emotional issue, which is abortion. Because a woman whose name is Virginia Mapes, who chose to have an abortion in Alabama, and she was sentenced she was charged with first-degree murder. That black woman was charged with first-degree murder because she chose to abort her baby. The justices who want to overturn the law, in other words, they gathered together to reinterpret the law and try to overturn the law. In other words, they want to give the woman a chance to be free, not to be charged with first-degree murder. However, the justices' decisions were really divided equally into, two opposite views. That's why Justice Kirkland's vote is going to be very critical. His vote will, tip the decision one way or the other. And he faces competing pro-life and pro-choice arguments from other justices. Like I said, the justices are divided into two positions. His secretary and even his wife also pressured him to make a certain decision. So it was really hard when he was faced with all kinds of pressure from his colleagues, his co-workers, even his wife. His final decision seeks to strike some sort of middle ground, a balance between the two political positions. So let's find out what decision he has made, especially the conclusion. Let's find out whether he has provided any thirdness, any different solution. Maybe it's not really different, but he interprets the whole thing in a different way. Okay?
People are in the street as we meet because honest emotion has gotten the better of them. I will not have that in this room. The decision of this court and the appeal of Virginia Mapes against the state of Alabama will be announced by Mr. Justice Kirkland. Last warning. For this court will adjourn and will issue our decision solely in written form. I'm sorry, Judge. Go ahead now.
Now we begin.
Life. Choice. The words we use to set ourselves against one another. I am a supporter of life and of choice, and so are each and every one of you. And may God grant that this republic always stand for both. How did we come to this? When both sides are right. Of course, a fetus is life and life is precious. And in a land that cares so much for the survival of whales and owls and so many forms of life, how could we turn our backs on the truth that a human fetus is life, which is becoming as we are day by day? And how could anyone deny that a woman's right to control her body and reproductive function is the most basic and elemental liberty that she could seek protection of? Along with the truth that each side is right comes the truth that each side is wrong. Because for the convenience of its arguments, each side would deny the rights of the other. One more truth and we are ready to begin. These two rights conflict. And we must balance them, which means shortchanging each right somewhere to permit the exercise of the other. Now this is unfair to each side because each right is precious and deserves to flourish unrestricted. But since they do conflict, there is no other way. We are human. We are imperfect. We ask your understanding of the spirit that has motivated what you will hear today. We begin where any balancing of rights must, drawing a line. How many weeks must pass before a state is allowed to prohibit the termination of pregnancy? 20 weeks. Now, there is no airtight logic for such a decision, but there are reasons. We have divided the 9 months of pregnancy in half. And there is some symbolic significance to this, a reflection of our desire to be even-handed. But the two halves are quite different. We take judicial notice of the fact that approximately 99% of all abortions take place in the first half, and hold that this is ample time for women to make their choice. In the second half, the fetus does most of its growing, from a few inches to full size. It acquires the faculties of cognition and awareness which babies exhibit at birth. In this second half, we hold that the states may prohibit abortion, except those necessary to protect the life of the mother. However, under no circumstances may these women ever be considered criminals. No circumstance, none. Now, we know that this compromise is cold comfort for those whose religious and ethical convictions hold that fully valued human life begins at conception.
Arguments.
To you, we can only say that this republic is founded upon the right of each of us to practice his or her own beliefs, free from the imposition of the beliefs of others. This does not mean now that this court nor this nation favors abortion, casual or otherwise, for in fact, we do not. And accordingly, we hold that even during the first 20 weeks of pregnancy, while the woman retains her right of choice, the several states may require the following if they so choose. First, information and counseling for the mother if reasonably related to the making of an informed choice. This may include written and photographic materials, even if distressing to the sensibilities of the mother. Mandatory counseling with individual or group counselors prior to electing abortions, with a waiting period of up to 72 hours. Moreover, the state may require a written declaration by the mother that this choice is made knowingly and freely. The choice should be free, but not easy, because easy can mean heedless. It used to be easier in this country to get an abortion than to get a driver's license, and this desensitizes all of us to the gravity of this choice, all of us, including the mother. Which brings us to the most important part of this decision.
Conclusion.
Because there is one party in interest claimed by both sides in this dispute, and truly first with no one until now. Pro-life, pro-choice. But where is the movement that declares itself pro-child? 500,000 children in this country are in institutional and foster care, because our present adoption system can only place approximately 30,000 each year. So every year the unwanted, the unadopted, the unloved grows. Imagine what criminalizing abortion would do to those numbers. 1 child in every 5 in this country is living in poverty. Imagine the numbers for those unwanted. We have states eager to regulate and restrict abortion and to eliminate funding of abortions for the destitute. And this results in bringing into this world innocent children in whom all too often such states immediately lose all interest. We find today that they cannot. Each state must accept responsibility to so protect these children. It must, and believe me, from this day forward, it will. We are placing the suffering of unwanted children on the agenda of this court today, right up front where it belongs. Get out your pencils. For the reasons given above, we find the Alabama statute on which Virginia Mims' conviction is based to have deprived her of liberty without due process of law under the 14th Amendment. Said conviction is hereby reversed. In strict conformity with the guidelines given above, Alabama shall have the right so described to regulate abortion, but only as a part of a comprehensive plan of child care necessary to provide the children of said state with the rights guaranteed to them under the equal protection and due process clauses of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. state's right to protect the life of a fetus must be matched by a responsibility to protect the child that fetus becomes. Caring for children does cost money, and throwing public money around is not itself an answer. And cost control is high on our list of problems to be creatively addressed. Hard and controversial work lies ahead. The states could respond to this decision with resentment and resistance, or they can work with this court to find practical and sensible solutions for the protection and care of innocent children who cannot help themselves. I say to these states, test not our will in this, but our goodwill. Let's show the people that we can make something work. And I am joined in this opinion by Justices Morrissey, Banks, and Bradwood, and Mr. Justice William Dunn. I know the difficulties of undertaking such an ambitious decision with a majority of only 5 votes.
6 votes.
7.
He's new. He doesn't know we don't do this.
Benjamin, do you have any surprises for me, or are you still descending in these days?
Yes,
Can you turn on the light, please? Can somebody turn on the light, please? Okay. Now I would like you to tell me what you heard in each section. Let me find out if you are willing to freely raise your hand and share with us what you heard from each section. Okay? At the very beginning, in each section, you hear Justice Kirkland addresses both parties. So what did you hear in the introduction? Xianli. Xianli.
He said that two parts of their comment, they didn't wrong. They have their argument and they have their something want to express and protect.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in other words, at the very beginning, he talks about fetus. Fetus has a right, right? Fetus has a right. And also, he talks about woman's body, or let me call it mothers. Mother. So at the very beginning, he talks about both. Yes, on the one hand, he's very concerned about fetus is alive. And he's also concerned about mother's rights, to protect her own body. Good. Now, section 2, decision. What did he say? What's his decision? Cai Quan.
He said if within 20 weeks, women can decide whether to get abortion or not.
Right, exactly. He said 20 weeks is the drawing line. We have to make an arbitrary decision if we want to protect both. So before the fetus is 20 weeks old, the mother has the right to make a decision to have an abortion.